And okay, guys, today I'll be interviewing Arielle Ford, and I have read your book. Thank you so much for writing that book, and it's very lovely. How are you doing today?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And thank you so much for being on today because it's been really challenging, right, to get authors, that who specialize in relationship because I think that it's very important to have to understand relationship because one of my two mission to be able to impact the special education because I was put in label as a special education kid, and two, to impact the law of attraction thinking because in The Secret, it didn't. It have all the great things. Of course, I have seen The Secret, but it didn't deal with the human beings because I think the social aspect of it is very important. Thank you so much for being here today.
You're
Can
welcome.
you introduce to yourself to the audience, please?
Sure. I'm an author, speaker, and relationship expert, and I specialize in helping people find love, keep love, and be love.
That's so wonderful. When I see that, that's like so wonderful. So, how can we, as a human being, when we look at the law of attraction, we attract things into our life? How can we prepare ourselves for a good, positive relationship?
Well, I think let's just back up just for a little bit because I want to do a couple of things. First, I want to define for your audience what I believe a soulmate is because there's a lot of different definitions. So I believe that a soulmate is first and foremost somebody you can completely be yourself with, somebody with whom you share unconditional love. And when you look into their eyes, you have the experience of being home. And if you accept that definition, then the super good news is you all already have many soulmates. So whether it's your parents, your siblings, your children, your dogs, your cats, your coworkers, your best friends, we all have soulmates in our lives. And my specialty is helping people manifest a romantic soulmate. And the way to use the law of attraction to do that is quite simple in the execution of, but a little trickier in the understanding of, because a lot of people saw The Secret or they read the book, but they then came out of it saying, well, the law of attraction doesn't work for me. And the reason it doesn't work for most people is that they don't really understand quantum science. So I'm going to give you a quick download into how that works. So in the field of quantum science, there are a couple of truths that are accepted. One of which is there is no time. There is just this now moment. There's no past, there's no future, there is just now. And also in quantum science, we all exist in what is known as the field. In the field, we are already connected to everything and everybody. So understanding that on this unseen plane, we are already connected to our desires. We're connected to our abundance. We're connected to our good health. We're connected to our romantic soulmates. But so many people live in the world which is, well, I'll believe it when I see it. And as you probably know, our dear friend Wayne Dyer always said, you'll see it when you believe it. So this is true for everything in working with the law of attraction. You can't have anything that you want. When you are in the state of wanting, you're in a state of missing. And all the universe can provide you with is more of this experience and this feeling of missing, of wanting. So when we have a desire for something, we have to get ourselves to the place where we know in every cell of our body that what we've asked for is already ours. And this is what was missing from The Secret, was how do you get there? Because it's all about, well, you know, believe it, see it, attract it, make vision boards, do affirmations, all of which is nice. But if what you're doing is putting it out there, oh, I want this, you know, convertible blue BMW, and I see myself driving down the highway, and I can feel the leather seats, and I can smell the car, but in your heart, your feeling is, I don't deserve it, I can't afford it, it's never going to happen, you will never get that blue BMW. So what I have done, that is what I call my secret sauce, is I've created these things called feelingizations, because people know what a visualization is. I just described a visualization, seeing the thing that you say you desire. But in a feelingization, you move from your head to your heart, and you drop into your heart, and you have a real-time now moment of love and appreciation, of gratitude. And you experience being love, appreciation, and gratitude. And then you drop in the desire, as if in this moment on the unseen plane, you are already connected to that which you desire. Does that make sense?
Yes, it's so powerful.
Yeah, so on my website, for people seeking romantic love, I give away dozens of these feelingizations. They're totally free. All you have to do is go to soulmatesecret.com, and there's a tab called Free Stuff. So you go into Free Stuff, and you can begin doing the feelingizations. And by doing that, you could literally begin the relationship right now in this moment. Because if you dropped into your heart, and I talk you through how to get into the state of love, and then with your imagination, you imagine that on this unseen plane, in the field, your heart is already connected to the heart of your beloved. And you begin a dialogue, you begin a conversation, you begin an energy exchange. And you let them know that you're open, willing, and available to meet them on the 3D plane in real life physical world. That is how you manifest with the law of attraction.
That's so beautiful. You actually answered one of my questions for what is a soulmate. Thank you so much for that. I do have a question for what if we, because I felt for myself, if you were you're out of a relationship, but your heart is like blocked because you love the other person.
Yeah.
How can you remove that?
So there's a certain amount of grieving that needs to occur when a relationship ends. You know, it's just a normal part of the process. So you don't want to begin seeking a new relationship when you're still in the pain and suffering of the last one. And generally the formula is that it will take you a month for every year that you were with somebody to really allow yourself that space. So that's part of it, really giving yourself the freedom to understand that you're experiencing a death. It's not a death of a human being generally, unless it is, but it's the death of a dream. You know, you had all these hopes and plans and wishes, and it didn't work out. So that's part of it. The other part of it is that people seem to think that when they break up with somebody, they need to stop loving them, which is not true. Your heart is big enough and expansive enough to love lots and lots of people, and you can love somebody that you actually don't like. You can love somebody who's hurt you. You just can't be obsessing about wanting them back. If you know that they weren't your soulmate, if you know the relationship isn't good for you or healthy, or that for whatever reason is never going to become real for you, then find a little corner of your heart where you can still love them and appreciate them, but don't spend your time thinking and obsessing about them.
That's so powerful. And for you, what make you want to be able to help people to find their soulmate? That's what I want to know.
Well, what happened was that it was something I did for myself. I was a first-time bride at the age of 44, and I had been really mastering the law of attraction for about 10 years before I thought about using it for a soulmate, and I'd had tremendous success. I built a huge business in Los Angeles. I was doing book publicity for Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer, Marianne Williamson, Neil Donald Walsh, Don Miguel Ruiz, pretty much everybody in the self-help spirituality field. But when I realized that I had gotten to, midlife with no husband, I thought, well, I wonder if all the prayers and processes and rituals and beliefs that I have, would it work on manifesting a soulmate? And not only did it work, it exceeded all my expectations. In fact, we just celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary. Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Yeah, great. But I started to share my process with other single women over 40, and it also worked for them. And then I shared it with my mother-in-law, who was 80, who had been married for 55 years until her husband died, and it worked for her. So it wasn't that I woke up one day and said, oh, I'm going to become a writer and a teacher. It just evolved out of, something that worked for me that now has worked for tens of thousands of men and women in 42 countries around the world.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for doing what you do.
Mm-hmm.
It can help so many people. That's what my mission is about. And for those, that's what I was going to mention. The school system. I live in America. School system, I wish they should have taught how to have a relationship with other people. And that's what was so missing in everything. I think it's important. That's what to help other people.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the people teaching school don't know how to do it. So you can't teach what you don't know because nobody's really been taught this stuff. People don't even really understand what love is, which is the first problem. People think, oh, I know that I love you because I feel it. But when you're in the state of being in love, it's actually a drug high. Your brain is cascading waves of dopamine and oxytocin and adrenaline. And it has nothing to do with what real adult mature love is all about. It's a nice feeling. It's called the state of being in love, but it only lasts for 6 months to 3 years. The real state of love is a behavior. Love is a behavior. It's a practice. It's a choice. It's a decision. It's an action. It's a way of being. So you can be married and wake up one day and have a big fight with your husband or your wife and really not like them at all. You could even hate them, but it doesn't mean that you don't love them. So people first have to really understand what love is, because they end up marrying somebody, all the drug high wears off, they start having disagreements, and they think that something's wrong. And really, nothing's wrong at all. It's actually normal to have disagreements because people were raised differently and they have different needs, different wants, different desires. And in fact, there's one marriage researcher at the University of Washington, really famous guy named Dr. John Gottman. And his research has shown that every single couple has a minimum of 9 irreconcilable differences. These are things on which they will never agree. Things like one is always late, one's always on time. One likes it hot, one likes it cold. One wants sex every day, one wants it once every 3 months. One's a spender, one's a saver. Lots and lots of things. So what's normal is to have these differences. What isn't normal is to break up because of them. Because what you can do is learn to come up with creative solutions. And in order to have creative solutions, you have to learn clear communication techniques. Like my husband and I, one of our very first big disagreements was he's a spender, I'm a saver. Well, we grew up in very different environments. I grew up with not very much money, with parents who argued every day that there was never enough. I'm Jewish, so in my DNA, we have this whole thing, oh, there's never enough. You're going to starve, you're going to go without. And Brian grew up in a very affluent home with wealthy parents, and money was never an issue. But we found ways to work it out, but first it required me being very open, honest, transparent, vulnerable about my biggest fear, which was I didn't want to become a bag lady, and I taught him how to shop sales and how to compare prices, stuff he had never known how to do. And, we worked it out.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I just want to hug you right now. Oh God, it bring me to tears because what you say is also what I went through with the dopamine. I seen it because I read the one that you mentioned, a great book, and then I read what's his name, Mark Gunger. He's a great book, and when you said it absolutely right. When you go through that period of dopamine rush, I felt it, right? And my partner or my ex-partner was like, oh, we're so different, and it's like, oh, I don't look. No, it's like what you said is so true, and so many people go through that, and it's like it's almost like, oh no, we're like, you're right, they come from a different background. And
right.
I felt
See, the thing that people stop doing is you have to learn to respect the differences, right, and not make anybody wrong, and then communicate with a lot of respect and kindness. And it can be over big things and little things. And it's often the little things that drive people crazy. It's like when Brian and I first got together, Uh, I'm somebody like when I have a tube of toothpaste, here, I'll show you this. Like imagine this was a tube of toothpaste. I would roll it from the bottom up, right, to get the toothpaste out. And he would always squeeze it from the middle. And every time I would see the mangled tube of toothpaste in the bathroom, I'd have these really negative thoughts about him. It's like, oh, you know, why can't he just do it right? And then one day I showed him, I said, listen, this is the proper way to get toothpaste out of a tube. And he just looked at me like I was totally out of my mind, like I was completely crazy. And so I thought, well, you know, what would be a good creative solution? I thought, well, we could get 2 tubes of toothpaste. He could have his, I could have mine. But I realized I would still be judging him for the way he used his. So finally one day, as I started to think about like what new story could I make up about this toothpaste? Because it really was bothering me. And finally one day I was like, oh, of course, I'm so grateful I married a man who brushes his teeth. So now whenever I look at the toothpaste, I just get a big smile on my face. It's like, oh, great, Brian brushed his teeth. He's going to live to be old and he'll still have all his teeth. Now, I know that seems like sort of a petty example, but you can do that with anything, whatever it is that they're doing, unless it has to be, you know, if there's abuse or addiction, then this isn't going to work. You need professional counseling. But for the little things that annoy us, you know, just make up a new story about it or do it yourself. You know, like I'm the messy one. There's always a clean freak and a messy one in a relationship. I'm the messy one. And, you know, one day Brian was like, how come you always leave crumbs around the toaster? And I'm like, what crumbs? I don't see any crumbs. And after about 6 months of complaining about it, he just said to me, he goes, you know, I finally figured it out. Since I'm the one who's bothered by the crumbs, I'm just going to spend the rest of my life cleaning up after you. You know, because whining, bitching, moaning, complaining wasn't having me change because I don't notice things like that. I don't have a problem with clutter. You know, he does.
And so live with the differences. That's
well, yeah, and it's not about sacrificing or being a martyr. Just make up a new story about it. You know, Brian's new story is that I'm messier than a busload of third graders, and that makes him laugh. You know, I'm just the messy person.
That's so good. You guys be able to get along because you guys can like reshift the mind.
Well, that's what it is. It's a shift in perspective, and it's a willingness because, you know, nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. Nobody's ever going to be perfect. So if we can learn to love the imperfections in ourselves and the imperfections of those around us, life can be a whole lot easier. You know, and the thing to ask yourself, if somebody's doing something that's really driving you crazy and you can't figure out a new story about it, just simply ask yourself, is this a reason not to love them?
That's very powerful. That's fair. Thank you. For people because I do want to get married. My dream is to at least to have a family. How do you prepare to get married or have a marriage?
You know, that's you're so smart to ask that question because so many people don't think about it till after they get married. You know, the first thing you really want to get clear about is what your vision for your life is. So where do you live in the States?
Maryland. Maryland, yes.
So do you live near mountains or do you live near the coast or near a lake?
I guess it's like a city or suburban.
And do you like living there? Do you see yourself living there forever or would you be willing to move?
Willing to move.
Yeah, okay. So but you know that you want to have kids, right?
Right.
So what you want to do is start to get really clear about, you know, what do you want your life to look like? And what do you see yourself doing on weekends with your partner, that sort of thing. And then, you know, where in the past relationships have you had struggles that you could work on now? Like, do you need to learn some good communication tools and techniques? That might be really useful. There's a fabulous book called The 5 Love Languages, which everybody should read before they're even dating. I don't know if you've read that one yet.
I have.
But yeah, that's it's a simple, easy book, but it's so potent and so powerful so that when you're with somebody, you can show them how much you love them in the way that they most want to be loved. so those kinds of things. So I think, going to some workshops and seminars, online e-courses, read some books, and then look to your past, look to where the struggles in past relationships were to see, where do you get defensive? What triggers you? What kind of healing would you need to do? The thing about that I really want people to understand, though, is so many people think that they have to heal themselves and really love themselves a lot before they can get married. And the truth is, when you're married to your soulmate and you see how much they love you, you heal so much faster. So if you're sitting around thinking, well, I can't get married because I'm not ready yet, I would say stop that, because the greatest healing that exists is when you're with somebody who loves you.
Yes, that's I realize because you are absolutely all right on that, because I keep thinking I'm not ready for it, and because there's been like first I thought in order to heal myself, I need to be able to be single for a long time. I was single for 7 years to heal the past, but then I realized when I got into a relationship, all my subconscious stuff was going out, and I was like, what's going on? And how do you, if my past subconscious come out, how do you be able to?
Well, what works really well is just telling the truth about yourself to whoever you're with. So if without knowing the specifics, if let's say if I were in the dating pool right now, I would probably tell people a couple of things you need to know about me is that I tend to be a bit of a control freak. I can be really bossy. I have, poverty consciousness issues every once in a while. I've worked on them a lot and they're better, but I'm always aware of money and that sort of thing. And I'm a messy slob, so when we go out to eat, I'm going to get my food on me and I'm going to get it on you too. And if you do that sort of in a lighthearted manner and just say, listen, I know I'm not perfect. These are the things I'm working on. These are the dreams I have for my life. And you're just open and transparent, authentic, vulnerable. That's how you establish really deep intimacy.
Thank you so much for that. Also, I want to help the woman, because I saw people would say like, there's no good men out there.
Yeah.
So how can you shift those?
Well, the women, that's not true. Okay. It's absolutely not true. And as long as they hold that belief, that's a defense mechanism. They don't want to be hurt again. So they can just say, okay, well, I'm alone and I'm single because all the good ones are taken. And it's total bullshit. I mean, right now there's 7.4 billion people alive on the planet, and half of them are single. In the United States, there's 150 million singles. 1 in every 3 marriages now begins online. There are plenty of good men and good women online, but you need to know how to date online. And part of dating online is being really open about what you're looking for. So if you're a woman who wants to get married and have children, wants to be in a monogamous relationship, you need to say that in the first sentence. I'm a happy, satisfied woman who's ready to have a traditional marriage and family with somebody who's interested in A, B, C, and D, and just be that straight. And women will say to me, oh, well, I don't want to scare anybody off. And I always say to them, yes, you do. You totally want to, somebody's just looking for a hookup. They know instantly you're not the one. But somebody like you would read it and go, oh, yeah, I want to get married and have children. Yeah, maybe I should read further in the profile.
When you say, like, they don't want to be hurt again, I used to feel like that when I was, during 2011, I broke up with my ex. I closed off from the world, and I couldn't let anyone enter. How do you get that process going? Like, would you let other people in? Because you felt hurt.
You just have to understand that you will be hurt again. I mean, life is hard. People get hurt. People lie, cheat, steal, betray us, disappoint us, frustrate us. I mean, you just have to understand that that's part of life. Now, what you get to do as a mature adult is you get to make better choices. you could make up a story for yourself that this relationship you had with your ex was very karmic, that in a past life, you did things to them, they did things to you, and you had an agreement to come together in this lifetime to work it out. Now it's over. Now you're feeling this desire to connect, to get married, to have children, right? So knowing that this desire is within you, Deepak Chopra would say, the seeds for its fulfillment are also within you. And when you're feeling nervous and upset about it, just sit down and journal. See if you can get to what's underneath it, but don't let it stop you.
What you said is so powerful. So how can we keep love in our life? Because that's one of your...
Right. Well, keeping love is actually much harder than finding love. Finding love's quite easy once you jump into it. The keeping love part is a big commitment because, as I just said, there are going to be days when you hate them, and they're just going to drive you crazy and things aren't going to go your way. And you have to be all in. When you get married and you take sacred vows, you have to really mean them. I'm going to love you on your good days and your bad days. And then you have to have the skills, and you have to, learn how to communicate in a way that's effective for everybody. And, for most men, it's a little bit easier than for women because women don't seem to understand that men's brains are wired differently. Men actually can't think about three things at once, so they'll show up and they'll go, well, I need you to do this, and I'm pissed off at you at this, and then you did that, and then they shut down. They can't take in all that information. If you want to get a man to do something, you first have to find out when a good time to talk to him is. You just have to say, hey, I have a problem I need your help with. When do you have 10 minutes? And then when you have the 10 minutes, you could just say to him, you want to give him like 5 positive affirmations. It's like, God, I just really want to acknowledge you. I saw what you did yesterday helping your friend do ABC, and thank you so much for doing this for me. And I'm so proud of all the work that you're doing at your office. You're just, I feel really lucky to be with you. And I have this problem, and here's what my problem is. Every time I walk into the bathroom in the middle of the night, I fall into the toilet because you leave the seat up. And when you leave the seat up and then I hit the cold water, it wakes me up and then I can't go back to sleep. So I know it's a real pain for you, but do you think there's any way that you could try to figure out how to put the seat down for me? And that's the only thing you talk about, and you just get him to agree to try harder. And then the next time you see that he put the seat down, you want to go out and run and give him a big hug and say, God, I love you so much. Thank you for putting the seat down. It's called positive reinforcement. And I know it sounds like this is how you train dogs and train dolphins. This is also how you train men. One thing at a time, lots of positive reinforcement. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So women need to understand that about men. For men, all you need to understand is we just want to be heard and seen and listened to. We don't actually want you to fix our problems unless we ask you to fix a problem. But if we're having a really bad day, put down your phone, hold her hands, look her in the eyes and say, I can see that you're really stressed out or that you're really upset. Tell me all about it. And then just let her talk. Don't try to fix it. Just let her talk. And then when she's done talking, just say, is there more? Okay. And when there's no more, just say, okay, what's the number one thing I could do for you right now that would help you? If you just give her that level of attention, she's going to make you the happiest guy on earth.
Oh, it sounds like a romantic movie scene.
But this stuff works. I mean, it works. They don't teach it to you in school because the people teaching don't know it. But it's actually really simple. There's nothing complex about it.
Yes, it's very, it's beautiful that when you say like that our brain wired differently.
Yeah, they are.
Yes, thank you. Do you have any fear, and how did you overcome it?
Oh, yeah. I still get things that I'm afraid of, but I have a very large spiritual toolkit that I use. One of my favorite techniques is called EFT tapping. I probably do that every day, and you can Google it. Just Google tapping, and there's lots of free videos on how to do it. I also like the heart math processes called the heart lock-in, And my feelingizations are based on that. It's a process where you drop from your head to your heart and you re-experience moments of love and appreciation and gratitude. I like to go for walks. I take aromatherapy baths. There's another technique called the Sedona method, which is a self-talk technique. So, you know, when fear comes up, I just find ways to dissipate it.
Okay, thank you so much. What does success look like to you?
Waking up happy. I mean, really, it's for me, it's that simple. I wake up happy, you know. It's like, well, what fun things do I get to do today? You know, there were times in my life where I measured success through more material things, and then I got all the material things, but I wasn't all that happy. So I started to focus on happiness as opposed to, you know, oh gosh, can I get this client onto the Oprah show, or can I do this, or can I do that? Which, you know, there are joyful moments attached to those things, but long-term happiness for me is what success really is.
Yes, thank you so much. But your success change over time, right? Because I
Oh
know.
yeah. Yeah, and it's appropriate that it goes that way. I mean, when you're a younger person and you're building your career, there are goals and benchmarks by which you can measure success, you know, but you want to be doing it at least in a field that gives you satisfaction. You know, if all you're doing is accumulating wealth or accumulating stuff, it's not going to make you happy. But if you're doing it such as what you are, being of service to people while you're also earning a living, that's a lot more satisfying.
Yes, thank you so much for that. One of the things that I noticed that you're very when you're in this interview, because I don't like you probably heard of the pickup artist industry, right?
Yes,
Right.
yes, not a fan.
Yes, I am not a fan either. I do not like how they like relationship is a relationship, and I think that that's why I want to speak out, because I do not like the way that they treat people. And
Well, it's really interesting. The guy who wrote that book, his name was Neil something. He's actually retracted it and apologized for writing that book, even though he made millions off of it, because he eventually met his soulmate, got married, is now in a monogamous relationship, has children, and he came out with another book to sort of like say, okay, don't listen to what I said before. But yeah, he was a predator, and he preyed on women who were interested in spirituality and self-help and personal growth, and he taught a lot of men to be predators, and it was really a disgusting contribution to the literary world.
yes, and that's why I want to be able to bring, like, just as yourself, to be able to counteract that, because I think that people, I respect the what was it, the guy I bring up in with relationship. I respect him so much. I took his philosophy, and because there is a thing out there where if you're not on the prowl or on, you know, searching for women like you're supposed to, like men do, then you're like something is wrong with you, right? And that's
Well, I think that those beliefs are dying quickly, especially now with the Me Too movement and everything else that's going on. You know, I mean, we are evolving as a species, you know, and hopefully we'll have somebody new in the White House one of these days who's an evolved human being, uh, because he's the breed that's dying. You know, women are just objects to be conquered and used as opposed to human beings. I mean, it's just disgusting.
yes. That's I forgot. That's where I want to bring in, like, for when you want to attract a relationship, because I saw one of your you write. Do you write down the what you want in a mate?
Yeah, so it's called creating a soulmate wish list.
Mhm.
And what you want to do is, you know, think really carefully about what are the heart traits and qualities you most desire in a mate, as opposed to making a shopping list. Oh, you know, she should be 5'6", blonde hair, blue eyes, size 2, that sort of thing. You're not going shopping. What you're looking for is, do you want somebody who's loving, kind, compassionate, adventurous? You know, what's important to you? And as you write everything down on the list, you want to ask yourself, does this attribute contribute to my long-term happiness? And if it does, you leave it on the list. And if it doesn't, you take it off. So somebody's height you know, unless you're a guy who's 7'2", you know, height isn't really going to matter so much to you, right? And, you know, unless you have, you know, you're this triathlete who's all about being a superhuman fit person, if somebody's in normal good shape, that should be enough for you. You shouldn't be demanding that you want the opposite of you. My friend Allison Armstrong always says that women are looking for the hairy version of themselves. You know, they think they want this guy who likes all the same things they do. And that's not really true. There's some truth to the belief that opposites attract. You do want somebody who's going to bring new things to your life. If you have somebody who's exactly like you, it's going to get old and boring.
Okay, that's so powerful. How for you? How's your if someone wants to be an author or writer? What is your writing processes?
I write 500 words a day when I'm writing a book. So it's just a practice because 500 words is really just 2 pages double spaced. It's not a lot, but it's very doable. It doesn't seem like an overwhelming task. So for me, if I write 500 words every day, at the end of 6 months, I have a completed book. You know, other people like to grind it out and write 10, 12, 20 hours a day. That I could never do, but that's my process.
Thank you so much. And then after that, how do you get it published?
Well, that's you know, a whole long conversation. In today's world, the fastest thing to do is to self-publish on Amazon through Create Space. That's the easiest, fastest thing to do because the big New York publishers will not buy a book from anybody who doesn't have a very large platform. And, you know, the platform is the size of your email list and your social media following and, you know, the people who show up at your live events. So until you're somewhat established, they're not interested in publishing anything of yours.
Okay, thank you so much for today. Thank you for everything. And that will be it today. Subscribe to my channel, like my video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Right.